hold on.
Go back and tell her about the, first you were sleeping on a sack of potatoes,
Yeah.
and then tell her about the vehicles that they had when they didn't have any gasoline.
Okay. The Germans made do on a lot of shortages. This is toward the end of the war, and they were in dire condition a lot. And so they would improvise with gasoline gone to nothing to use really kind of little furnaces back of the cars and the trucks that would burn coke or some type of coal, like Steve was saying, to make the power for gasoline. They didn't work too well, but it worked enough to get the motion. They could slow speed, and so it was helpful. And the food situation, I know the latter time in the latter part of the war, we were talking about April, May, June, where it was getting springtime. They were having to eat on potatoes, like we were talking about. They have a lot of Irish potatoes that they had stored in their cellars.
Did you cook them or eat them raw?
I don't know. They ate like we do, mashed potatoes.
Oh, okay. I just thought maybe you ate the potatoes.
Only cooking them, boiling them.
Right.
But for the most part, we stayed on our rations if we could get them. And they had an express, the Red Ball Express was they had the black soldiers driving these truckloads of ammunition, gasoline, and ration. Well, for the most part, ration didn't take the priority. It was last. You had to have gasoline to move your tanks and everything. So that was probably number one, and we were short on ammunition a lot and food a lot. So I really learned to scramble eggs and stuff like that, and fry chicken. But all that was in the latter days of the war, and we went from, and we were then in southern Germany and Austria.
I bet that was a beautiful place.
Yes, Austria was really good. We were at Lake Moon Sea, which it meant Moon Sea. Mm-hmm. It was shaped like a moon. And it was a French, I guess, I don't know what they were. They were Roman Catholics, had a convent up on the top of one of the mountains, the Alps. And we had one time our duty to go up there and set up a radio transmission was very bad, and communication was unreliable. But we went up there and stayed a few days, and were able to communicate better.
Where did you go swimming? I know you went swimming somewhere.
I went swimming in Lake Moon Sea. Mm-hmm. It was cold as ice. It was right at the Alps, the foot of the Alps in one of the valleys.
Run off of the snow.
Yeah, coming right off the ice. What we were so enthralled by the beauty of it is the fact that we wanted to go swimming. You go jump in that cold water, I turned purple immediately and scrambled to get out. But anyway, it was a beautiful place and pretty far away from Vienna, right at the Swiss border, really, in that end of Austria. And that was because Patton had been directed. Initially, we were up in North Germany and toward Russia, and he hated Russians, and said he'd take his army and go march through Russia, and so they couldn't control him too well. So they moved the whole Third Army at the very end of the war to Austria south, and we went up on the border and wound up at the end of the war in Austria. But we were over at Bremen and over in North Germany, over where the Russians are, wound up. They're getting us out of the way and giving that over to the Russians. And so it was an interesting experience, and one that we didn't particularly like, and Patton didn't like at all, being pulled out of the front,
I bet.
I remember that. Then at the end came right about there at Lake Mondsee, and we were directed to immediately transfer to the coast back to Cherbourg and France and get on a ship. We went by I remember going by the prison camps for the Jews.
Yeah, I wanted to know about that.
There were unimaginable people still alive Germans had abandoned the camps and left them open when we were going back to the Atlantic, back to the coast of France. And I just remember going by them and seeing these creatures bad shape.
Pitiful, huh?
Yeah, really were.
Like, were they real skinny and?
Yeah. They were really walking corpses, really what it was. And I believe everything they say about those prison camps. You don't see
Very
one
sad.
human being treating another one that way. Anyway, we went back and they had a camp set up. The Japanese were still hanging out in the west. And we were directed to immediately go to Texas and got on a ship, on cargo ship, and wound up back in the States, sent us by rail to Fort Bowie, Texas, south of Dallas. And that's where we were being re-equipped and retrained to immediately be deployed to Japan. And that's where the war ended for us, right there at Fort Bowie, Camp Bowie, actually. And,
So you saw a lot of action in the war, didn't you?
yeah. Well, I don't know. I just lived long enough to see it.
Well, that was a very significant battle that you were sent to.
I got the actual military description of it in all the villages, somewhere, and I don't think it's just it's not really interesting, but it does describe it militarily, what was happening.
Did you miss your Jeep when you had to leave it?
Yeah, I did. And my gun, too. I had an M1 rifle.
Why did you have to give that up?
Well, you just had to give everything up. I was a walking arsenal. In the Jeep, I had a M1 rifle, a Tommy gun, really a light 30 caliber, and a .45 pistol, and all kinds of bandoliers of ammunition. I can hardly stand up when I get out to go behind the tanks and run.
Did you lose your hearing when that thing, that loud noise when you were by the tank?
Yeah, kind of stunned. I was stunned there for a while. I really didn't know what had happened. And as I say, it was that the tank was back. The other tank put it in reverse and moved out and left us sitting out there. And I don't know, the tank I was behind that was hit, he never moved. I don't know where it knocked the people out inside or what, but he didn't move. Never did find out what happened to that situation.
Well, were you close to the other soldiers? Did you form a bond? I know you.
Not really much.
Okay, I know you're not a people person, but I thought maybe you would have.
Really,
Had a
it didn't last
brotherhood.
long enough to form a bond.
Okay.
The driver I was with in the Jeep was, most of those troops in the 3rd Cavalry that survived were from the Midwest, Chicago area. Our chief sergeant was Joe Bonadeo, an Italian guy from Chicago. But they didn't, it was a good bit of a changeover.
Okay. All right.